and the creation from which we are a part. It is told through the literary devices of the time in which the stories were written. Yet we can still be thankful for this wonderful creation no matter how the story is told. We can thank God for the mountains and the oceans, the forests and the seas. We can thank God for the food and the land and, well, everything that gives and sustains life. Now fast forward to the 21st century. We are busy. Technology allows us to do more, learn more, access more, and all at lightning speed. Even those of us who are not caught up in running kids around or in business meetings all day, we have access to a 24-hour news cycle or entertainment cycle that glues us to our screens. The internet allows us to access more information than we know what to do with, which in turn gives us access to the violence in the world and a more limited view of what gives us peace. And if we have the money, we can buy more things to distract us thanks to our strongly focused materialistic society. It is the things that we become convinced that we need. Some people, myself included, make the effort to escape all of this by going to nature. However, on the way to nature, we may talk on our cell phone, or at least keep it on just in case. We are moving faster than the speed of nature. As a result, we are using up nature's resources for this fast-paced world faster than nature can heal and rejuvenate in a way that no previous generation ever dreamed of. Just talking about it quickens my pulse. So many of us get overwhelmed by so much stimulation. I start to feel disconnected with the natural world when I'm rushing around in my urban environment. I certainly feel that I am not at peace with creation. When this happens, I feel the need to turn off my phone, my tablet, and my TV. I need to shut off my computer and stop reading my emails and electronic newsletters. I need to stop doom scrolling for the latest shocking news event. I also need to step away from my to-do list, especially one that has many things I feel I need to buy. Instead, I feel a strong pull to stand outside and just feel the natural world, with the wind and the grass. I need to look at the flowers and the trees. I need to hear the buzzing of the bees and the rustle of the leaves. I even need to hear the crack of thunder heard during a summer rainstorm. And on sunny days, I feel the urge to tilt my head up and gaze at the huge expanse of blue sky to find that peace within. I remember that when I lived in New York City, I took a trip with family to Mount Vernon in Northern Virginia, George Washington's home. When my husband and I arrived and saw that great green lawn at the front door, we felt a strong urge to take off our shoes and socks and walk through the lush summer green grass. And we did. I'm sure we got some looks from people like, what are they doing? And so we took off our shoes and socks and indeed walked through that lush summer green grass. It felt soothing after spending our time among concrete and skyscrapers. All of this reminds me that we are a part of something larger, mysterious and wonderful. My heart begins to slow and beat to the natural rhythm of the world that surrounds me when I'm in nature. It is then that I'm reminded that I'm only a part of this wonderful creation that God has blessed us with. I remember that God has given my fellow human beings and me this land, water, and air to care for and protect and not violate. It is in the quiet and calm that I feel the holy and the sacred. Sometimes we don't realize this basic need in ourselves until we are removed from it or some part of it disappears. When I moved to Minnesota from New York City, I again realized just how much I had begun to crave being in nature, seeing and experiencing its complexity. I began to treasure the myriad of natural colors and to feel the warmth of sunlight on my skin and feel the grass under my feet and silence only punctuated by the sound of a bird call. In New York, you could indeed travel to these experiences, but it's not the same as being immersed in it. My relationship with nature seems to be challenged the older I have gotten. I no longer go camping or biking or hiking. My days are spent either in my apartment or in my car I use for work. In the summer, I tend to go from my air-conditioned apartment to my air-conditioned car to my air-conditioned workplace. And I have to wonder if I'm not alone. Are we all becoming more detached from nature? If we are, and I believe we are, what are the consequences? Are we losing that connection with God and connection forged between us when we lived off the land? Are we losing that sense of peace with nature that we feel when we're a part of it, rather than users of it? It is only in modern times that we realize that we can reason, think, and explore our world like no other creature. We can enhance or alter the natural world in ways that no other living creature can. We can enhance or alter the natural world in ways that no generation has ever been known to do. We can save other living creatures, or we can misuse them to the point of extinction. We can clean up water systems and restore ecosystems to their natural state, or we can pollute rivers so that they can no longer offer edible fish. We can impose restrictions on air quality or continue our misuse of the earth that destroys our climate. In other words, our realization of our God-given capacities also creates a greater responsibility for the care of the earth. We have the power to destroy, but yet we also have the power to protect and make peace with it. A very brief, historical contextualization. In the 15th century, we had the doctrine of discovery, emanating from the Catholic Church in Rome. European explorers were given permission to seize land and its people and do with it as it wished, and often through violent means. In the 19th century, American settlers were given the right and were expected to expand European ideals of race and class and power and dominion over everything in their way, again, often through violent means. In this context, the word dominion meant staking claim. And if they couldn't, they changed definitions or rules to support their control over someone or something. For centuries, the King James Version of the Bible was the main translation used to enlighten, educate, and help shape our relationship with the natural world. We are to have dominion over everything in God's creation. And surprisingly, the phrase dominion over is still used in the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. As time has shifted, and our understanding of our place and relationship with creation also means our understanding is shifting from dominion over someone or something. A contemporary definition of dominion has been updated to read in a religious context that we are called to be stewards of God's creation and given the responsibility to care for rather than use it for our own ends. So yes, we have the power to control the natural world, but we also have the responsibility to care for it. One study of the phrase, quote, have dominion, reveals that it must be understood in terms of caregiving, even nurturing, not exploitation. As the image of God, humankind should relate to the non-human world and to each other as God relates to us, with love, care, and kindness, and with peace in our hearts and in our actions. We started paying attention more broadly to our relationship with the earth in the 1960s and the 1970s. In 1970, Earth Day started. The agenda of its founders addressed the interpretation of dominion head-on and helped redefine it to our more modern understanding of equating our call to be good stewards of the earth. The protests leading to its inception called for the end of oil spills, the end of factories that pollute, and the change to power plants that pump raw sewage into our rivers, lakes, and oceans. We heard calls to end the toxic dumps that continue to this day to pollute our soils and underground water sources. The protests called for the end of the use of pesticides, the loss of wildernesses, and to reverse the rising number of species moving toward extinction. One such response was the creation of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency that was created during the Nixon's administration in office in 1970. The Clean Air, the Clean Water, and the Endangered Species Acts were also passed. These efforts had and continue to have a tremendous impact on our consciousness about our relationship with the environment. Fast forward even more, and we are now more aware of the intersectionality of environmental issues with race and class. These policies and agencies are facing challenges these days. However, I am not here to debate politics or point fingers. I am here to ask us all to look at the bigger picture and above the political rhetoric. I'm asking us all to remember that God has not given the earth to us. God reminds us that we are, all of us, are a part of creation, charged with the care and respect of all living things. We cannot forget that these same living things care for us as well. The land for food, the bodies of water, the trees for breathing, etc. This is how true peace is forged. This is what true peace feels like, looks like, and shapes us. In another Genesis account, the first human being is asked to till and keep the garden. And according to biblical scholar Walter Brueggemann, he wrote, quote, "From the beginning of human destiny, God is prepared to entrust the garden to this special creature." That would be us. From the beginning, the human creature is called, given a vocation, and expect to share in God's work, end quote. We share in God's work in many ways. We can become advocates, activists, or protectors of the environment. We can do our share to be good stewards of resources we are given. We can live more simply so we do not tax the natural world. We can live peacefully with the natural world and not to expect it to serve us. In other words, we can learn to live with the natural rhythms of our natural world. Some approach this work optimistically, some approach it pessimistically, and some approach it somewhere in between. So, we can come away with all of this feeling discouraged, but I want to leave you with a bit of hope. And this hope actually comes out of a story from the time of COVID. All right, how many of us come out of COVID thinking there was actually times of hope? All right, but actually there was. And this is what I was left with, were some stories that felt hopeful. All right, let me get to it. I was awed by the stories of how nature returned while we were inside during quarantine. Photos of sheep roaming abandoned streets, sightings of ocean life swimming closer to the shore than had been seen in centuries. We saw a decrease in air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions within a few weeks of lockdown. Noise pollution was substantially reduced, by some accounts, as much as 75%. Some call these effects, I love this term, anthropause, meaning the humans kind of took a pause from this very hurried, varied life that just really impacts everything. And so humans paused, and the natural world was able to kind of come back. So as in, humans backed off a bit from its frenzied pace of modern life and let nature return to its rhythms. So may these lessons move us forward and inform our daily lives and policies of this modern world. And may we take the lesson of anthropos and know that nature is still there, nature can heal, and that we do have a say and a power in making healing and hope happen. May it be so.